issue here. What's going on? Let's just see what's going on. Sorry. This is I can hear something now. Wow. I can hear you, says Sam Monroe. That's excellent. Barry J. Allen, Flash, good morning, Mr. Kane, one and all. Veronica Curran, where are you? I don't know. I don't know what's happening here. I don't know why this isn't for some unknown reason. This is so annoyingly weird. I'm so sorry, everybody. And I put all of this stuff lined up. I have no idea why this is happening. I want to see your face, Mr. Kane, says Emma Webb. I can't see you. It's the genre. I know. I can't get rid of this wretched, stupid thing. Give me a second here. Oh, I hate it when this happens. I hate it when it happens. Don't know why. I don't know why it's happening, but it is. Anyway, there we are. Nothing I can do about it. It's driving me mad. Hang on. Oh, God. Ah!
Oh!
Well, that was more luck than judgment. Oh, Jesus Christ. Well, everybody, shall we start again? Shall we start again? Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm overexcited. As you can see, I am joined by. You've gone quite dark, Timmy. I mean, the hair, not the not the side. Yeah, nice.
It's my colour.
No, it's slightly different colour. Timmy Alexis Carrington Ward, and of course the legend that is Lesley de Meza. Although I was rather expecting more of a purple. Oh no, Lally, we can't hear you, darling. Don't know why we cannot hear you. I can hear Timmy. Timmy, speak.
Les, you need turning on, dear.
Yeah, she needs turning on. What's going on there? Why is that happening? Why?
Beforehand, I was saying, Russ, I was just thinking that was like old-fashioned radio before, wasn't it?
It was lovely. It was like proper radio. Absolute bloody chaos today. This is what happens. Hi, everybody. Right, let's just crack on, shall we? Let's just crack on. Right, Amanda, we can't hear her. We can't hear Lesley. I don't know, Lesley. Why? No, can't hear you, darling. Don't know why.
It looks as if she's got a voice on her.
She's got a voice. No, we can't hear you. We can't. This is going really. This is going. Lally, you got to unmute, darling. You got to on. Let's just see if I've got another thing here.
Unmute.
I'm doing all that. Oh, Jesus.
This is what happens.
This is what
technology. I
said it, dear. Turn off the mute, Lesley. Lesley, you got your mute on. I promise you have.
Oh,
good afternoon, says Luke Newman. Normally this goes silky smooth. Today it ain't silky smooth.
What? Bloke that makes it go smoothly.
Oh, I had to get rid of him. He was too professional, and he was getting on my nerves. He was just getting. Now today, Lesley, I think it's your headphones. Have you got headphones in? Lesley, have you got your headphones in?
Les, you got your headphones in?
Lesley, have you got I know what she. Tell her to
Yeah,
unplug. Yeah, unplug your. Well, Glassy Amanda, thank you. This is hilarious. Great for depression. We're all laughing. Well, that's my job done then. That's my role finished. Right, Lesley, take your headset out and plug it back in. I don't know how better to do this. Yeah, Sen's saying that's absolutely right. Okay, right. Now, depression. That's what I wanted to talk about. And I wanted to talk about it today because from people who go through it. Lesley, unplug.
I've just told her.
Carry on transmitting. Yeah, well, of course we are. If only you could put woman. Oh, Michael Verby, you are heading for such a slap. That is shocking. That is shocking. That's a terrible thing to say.
What's happening?
Michael Verby, 33, The High Street, Costa del Sol, Spain. Michael, that's very, very naughty. Hello, everybody, says Melanie Hutchins. All right. And frankly, this is the only thing that's keeping me going at the moment. This is hilarious. Great for depression. We're all laughing. Depression. What I wrote on Facebook was, well, I don't know what's happening with Lesley. Honestly, Lesley, you gotta plug something in or something. Don't know. I'm giving up. So, I know, story of your life now. People say they're a bit cheesed off, or they didn't get a job. No product placement to me. Veronica Curran, we will get it. Check your volume on your device, Lesley. Check the volume on your device. That's Veronica Curran up in Edinburgh. I don't think we're going to win any. Can we get her? Someone give her a call and talk her through it. Do you know what?
Mike is on volume.
Turkey. Is it anything working? Nothing working. I can't call it. I can't. No, I can't. This is like two-way family favorites from 1954. It's absolute bollocks. Right. Now, when people say they're a bit cheesed off, or they didn't get a job, or the weather's a bit gloomy, that is just being cheesed off. What that isn't is being depressed. And there's a very huge difference. And the reason I asked Timmy on, not to camp around for once, and the reason I asked the mute Lesley de Meza on, is that we're all fellow travelers. So let's start with you. I was going to say young Timothy, but so what happened? When did it all start?
Mine started, well, actually, I think from school age, actually, late after in my teens, early teens at school. I was always forever. Well, it was from when I suddenly thought about dying, where we all went, what happened. That's when it started for me. It was like I couldn't work it out why we died and what happens after that. That was a real big deal for me. And my parents took a lot of time to try and get me through that.
So you suddenly, and we've got another guest coming on in a minute, I hope with more success than Lesley de Meza of Stanmore, Middlesex. Jesus. Because I think one of the, and you might think, well, Russell, this is a bit random. The reason I've got this guest on is she's a payroll expert. And before you go, well, that's got nothing to do with depression. This is the way that I think about it. One of the biggest stressors for most people is money. It's a huge stressor. And stress leads to depression. And loads of more people are going back to work. Okay. COVID spiking again, what a surprise. But loads more people going back to work. A load of people don't know how to check their payroll slip. Sounds so freaking obvious, but it isn't. So we're going to get Pauline on fairly shortly. And we're going to have a quick chat about that. Lesley, switch everything off, come back on. That's what you should do. Switch everything off, and then we'll see your little pun in a few minutes. And then try it again and reboot everything, darling. Right, back to Timmy. Why did you suddenly start wondering about death when you were at school?
I think as everyone does, that realization that we don't go on forever.
Right.
It was just, I think that was a normal thinking, but I just held on to it, I think. But I was I think that was an early form of my depression. And then from there, I was always worried about getting ill and dying. And it was it was always cancer.
Oh, wow.
It was always cancer. I wasn't worried about anything else but that. If I was to say, yeah, it was just that. And I think that is a condition to be phobic of cancer. But from there on...
And did you have, sorry,
go on.
Was there a history of cancer in your family, or had you lost anybody to it, or you just read about it?
Do you know what I think about that is the knowing. I think I mean, people had died around things, but in their sort of normal ages. A friend's father died young, 50 of it, below 50 actually. But I think it was that thing of knowing. I think with cancer, it's that back in the day, we've moved on so much, by the way, but back in the day, it was a little bit like just slow, then you're gone sort of thing. But then it was and then I cleared that in my late teens until I got into my 20s. Then it suddenly hit me, absolutely hit me, this depression. And I went through a year of having tests, paying privately for tests and things, because I thought I was genuinely dying, because I had no energy. I was anxious, everything. It was horrible for a whole year.
So you thought you were dying?
Yeah.
Wow.
No, I just couldn't do anything. I just wanted to sit in the corner. But even it's not, depression isn't one of the, I think there's a cozy depression, which is that depression when I don't want to do that today. Let's have a duvet day and watch a film.
That's okay.
Yeah, no,
well, that's okay. That's being, in my view, that's being kind to yourself.
Yeah, that's a normal form of feeling a low mood. But this is debilitating. Absolutely, honestly, the worst thing you can imagine. Anyway, from there on in, is she back?
We don't know. She certainly looks happy.
So.
Can we hear?
Can you hear me now? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Different device. Different device. Different computer.
Yeah. Okay. Well, yeah. It's always handy to have one that works.
Hello,
right.
Leslie.
This is from Dave Sleet, head of A&A. Fear fixation. And Pauline, don't worry. I know you're there. I can see you. I'm waving at you, Pauline. Fear fixation is an amplification of a natural processing of the lack of control and inevitability of the facts of life. One thing about Dave Sleet, he knows how to write. So fear fixation, it is a one of the things we talk about a lot. So Lesley, just before we bring Pauline in, because I don't want her sitting there. She's a busy woman. She's got back-to-back interviews there. When did your problem start? Oh, she's frozen. Right.
I was thinking about... Oh, I'm not frozen. I'm not frozen.
Oh, that was just your thinking face. Blimey.
Okay. Yes, it was. Oh, shut up. When I was listening to the show yesterday... You said I had to shut me up, didn't you? I remember sitting with my dad and doing what James Dreyfus described yesterday as empty tears. I was sitting on the sofa talking to him, and he looked at me and he said, "You have been crying for 10 minutes while talking to me. What's the matter?"
What?
And I didn't.
Wow.
That was a good
show. Know what it was. I think as much as anything, it was a reaction because he had been unwell and was becoming more unwell. And I think it was a reaction to that. And that, he said to me, go and talk to someone, go and see a doctor, go and talk, which I did do, and it did help. That was the start of the episodes, as I recall it. But there have been episodes since then. It goes away, but it's always hovering in the background. Except I'm now I live on my medication, which I love, and it doesn't dull me. I don't think I'm dull. And helps.
Right, what we're going to do, I'm going to bring on my next
the hair's
guest.
a bit dull.
Well, I was hoping it would be a lovely magenta or purple, which is my favorite. I always love it when you do that. Not so much for you, Timmy. I'm going to bring on the next guest because she's on a crazy, crazy schedule. And then I want to talk about medication, coping with the medication, and the split between what people see on the outside and how we're feeling on the inside. Meanwhile, Hello, Pauline. How are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you.
Good. You are the reason I wanted you on, and thanks to Mark for bringing you on, because I know you're back to back with interviews today.
That's fine. I can find time for you.
Bless you. Oh, you're too kind. You're too kind. People are going back to work, and they don't always know how to work out their pay slips. Is that about right?
Yes, so we into it QuickBooks have done some research, and we found that actually people don't even look at their payslip. So we find that it's increased. It's about a third now, and not even looking at their payslips. I think they look at their net pay in their bank and think, yeah, that's fine. But there's more to your payslip than your net pay, and you really do need to start understanding what your payslips show you. I'm
going to get into that in a second, because the reason I wanted you on, and I find it completely related to today's subject, which is depression, is that money, lack of thereof, is a huge stressor, and that stress can easily lead to depression. Money problems are what people really do cite as a thing. How did you find out, Pauline, that people were simply not, not, what was I going to say? There we go. That not doing the right thing and looking at their payslip. How did you work that out? How did you even know that?
So we conducted a survey recently, which included, do you look at your payslips? And we found that actually a third don't even look at their payslips, which increased from 23%. I think we did it 2 years ago. So we also asked other things. So obviously, I think there's something like a pandemic been happening over the last 18 months, and that has impacted.
Not heard about that.
But that's impacted people's finances. So we found in this survey that just under half of employees had seen their household finances suffer as a result of this. So, we've all heard the term furlough. That's on your payslip. Well, if you're not looking at your payslip, how do you know that you've been paid the right amount of money when you've been off on furlough? How do you know your tax code's correct? So, I think there's a lack of education around payslips anyway. And
so where would people? You're absolutely right, because me and finance, I'm terrible. Creatively, forget it. I can't even say it. How do you know what you should be looking for, sir, first of all?
Well, one, open that payslip or have a look at it on the online portal, and then start educating yourself. You're not going to know it all in one go. It's going to take people out there that can help you. So if you're in a larger company, you can ask a payroll processor. Right. If you're in a smaller one, then look online.
And is there somewhere where people can go to learn what everything means? Because people might look at a pay slip. It's like I look at a load of figures, and I go, oh, so what the hell I'm looking at here? It's just a load of figures.
Yeah.
Show me a book or tell me to rewrite something. I'm in it. Like a
so we'll rewrite your pay slip then, shall we?
Well, okay, but but what is on it that people need to know?
So we found in this survey that 48% had inadvertently paid more tax. So one of the key things about your tax is your tax code. Yeah.
Right.
So have a look on your payslip. It should tell you what your tax code is, and it's usually made up of numbers and letters. You can look at Gov UK that will explain what those numbers and letters are.
Right.
And that's the beginning of your story. So we've got 4 people on here. Each one of us will have different circumstances which will change our tax code. We'll start about the same, but depending on our circumstances, that tax code will change. We might have different letters. We might have what we call week 1, month 1, because they only looks at what you're being paid that time. But start looking at that tax code and then understanding what that tax code means. And does that reflect you? Does that reflect you as a person?
Now, most people, Pauline, because living in the real world, they go, oh, Christ, I've got to take on the government. This is never, I just can't be, I can't be asked. I can't be bothered. It's a nightmare. No one's ever going to come back to me. Is that the case? Or once you start saying, hey, excuse me, it's the wrong tax code, people will take notice?
If you start speaking to HMRC, they will take notice. They have to. You're the customer, whether they like it or not. You're the customer.
Yeah, right.
But one of the things is simple things.
We love being a customer of HMRC. Oh gosh, what could be nicer?
They're real people at the end of the day. Come on. So
you say that.
There's simple things, isn't there? Like, is your address correct? Now you think, well, what does that mean? Is your address correct? Well, if you're in Scotland or in Wales, you're under a different tax regime from England and Northern Ireland. So it's one of those things. Is your address up to date? If you're in a relationship, you can actually transfer part of your allowance, taxable allowance, if both of you are basic taxpayers. So as long as you're both basic taxpayers, if say one of you is earning £10,000, you can move some of that taxable allowance, because you're not paying any tax, over to your partner and get a bit more tax efficient. Oh yes, but you have to both be basic taxpayers. Okay. So that's the key. So the lower earners, you have to be under that sort of 32,000.
Well, you're hitting our audience.
Okay, well, have a look at that in your partnerships. Have a look. So again, it's about understanding, isn't it? Having a look online. There's plenty of help online, especially at the Gov.uk website. And again, making sure that's right. If you look at your payslip, is that tax code correct? And of course, at Intuit QuickBooks, we provide software to help the payroll, so we do all the calculations. But that tax code is pulled in from HMRC. So if your tax code is wrong with HMRC, you as an individual need to go to them, because we're just pulling what's given us.
That's the first thing to do. Who should people complain? It's important, because once you see this and then you think, oh no, this is upsetting me, then it fills your mind. I get that.
Yeah.
And people don't like paperwork. They don't like it, whether it's, even if it's online. Online's somehow even worse in some respects. I was struggling with stuff yesterday. God damn. Anyway, so who should they then complain to in their place of work? Say they're working for a big organisation. What do they do? So HR, or what's the deal?
Well, HR, you might have a payroll department as well. So depending on the size of it. And again, remember that information that they've put through is based on the information they've been given. So if you're hourly paid, if your hours worked are incorrect, that might just be a genuine mistyping of values. So just double check that the hours being paid are correct. It might be, especially with furlough and things like that, we were entitled to sick pay without waiting days. Was that applied? So again, just look and understand the numbers, and not necessarily complain to the person doing it, but ask for some clarification. What is this number? How have you got to this number? And just understand how that's actually been calculated. It doesn't necessarily mean it's right or wrong.
We should get the phone. I think we should. It's either that or your dinner's ready in the microwave. So here's the thing. It's not complaining. I don't think we need to be clear. It's just having a conversation with the people who can change this. It's not like you've got to go and start having a row, is it?
No.
Again, that's another barrier that people say, oh, I don't want to speak to Maureen in accounts. It's all going to kick off, that sort of thing.
Again, if you're working for a larger organisation, they will probably help you understand it. So it's National Payroll Week this week to help celebrate payroll and payroll professionals. And part of our company...
Who comes up with that, Pauline? That's fantastic. Who the hell comes up with that?
Payroll professionals. We're underappreciated. It's not until you payroll.
That's hilarious. Payroll.
It's National Payroll Week. That's why you've got me on here.
I know that, but it's still hilarious. I'm sorry.
But a lot of people underappreciate payroll professionals. But we're at QuickBooks. Our payroll team are going to do a session explaining what the payslip looks like and what it means and what those deductions are. We have a lot of benefits and perks, thankfully. We work for a very good company, so it will explain what that medical benefit is, how that impacts your taxable pay, how any other deduction savings, and that can help you. So again, understanding that if you're in a larger firm, there should be a payroll expert there who can explain.
I gotta say,
courses.
I gotta say, Pauline, and I'm being absolutely deadly serious, you are an absolute credit to your company.
Thank you very much.
No, you really are, because your fingers on the pulse. You know what you're talking about. You're hugely articulate, and you're enthusiastic about a subject which could be as dry as dust if you weren't really.
But what's your main source of income? It's your payroll. So get in love with your payroll, and then you know what you're doing with your finances, and that will help you.
We couldn't end it on a better note. Get in love with your payroll.
Yeah. Oh, you're a payroll expert, not me personally.
That is it. I love that. Pauline, I know you've got a hell of a busy schedule, so thank you so much. I really appreciate it. People want to know more. Go on, give it a plug. I don't mind. QuickBooks. How do we get hold of QuickBooks and everything?
So QuickBooks is at quickbooks.co.uk. And if you want to find out a bit more about tax and that, look at gov.uk.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Take care.
You.
Thanks a lot. Have a good National Payroll Week.
A whole week, yeah.
There'll be parties all over the place. All right.
You
cheerio.
just don't know what we get up to.
Hello, you've piqued my interest all of a sudden. Thank you very, very much. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye.
Now, there we go. So, I thought that was rather good. She was terrific.
I don't know what she was talking about. It was
You
all
see,
double
this is
tap.
the thing. This is the
It was all
fascinating.
double tap.
This is the fascinating thing.
What's
That
interesting?
I could see in your face, you didn't follow that. But what she was saying was absolutely crucial advice. That's why I wanted to have her on the show.
You could see by my face.
I'm trying to interrupt, guys. Come on.
Go ahead. The floor is yours, Lally.
Don't just check your payroll, check your credit card statements. I am a really good girl. Having been in debt once with credit card, I no longer do that. And I checked my credit card statement last month, and I had been, I'm going to say erroneously charged for something which I hadn't purchased. And at the moment, my credit card company have raised a dispute with the people who charged me or attempted to charge me £45.40 for something I hadn't purchased, nor had I received. So check everything.
What were you buying? What did it say you had bought?
Well, it didn't say what I'd bought, Tim. It just said the company from whom I'd purchased it. And then it said, and if you have a problem with our company, email us. So I emailed them and they said, we'll get back to you in 48 hours. Well, that was 2 weeks ago and I'm still not holding my breath. And then I tried to phone them, and you phone them and they say, you can only contact us by email. So it's a big fraudulent dispute thing at the moment.
Do they know who they're dealing with?
No, not yet, but they will.
This is from Paul, probably in East Croydon, halfway up a ladder. My payroll people must be fed up with me correcting them. All too often they cock up the calculations, end up writing emails detailing their simple maths errors and showing them how to do the sums. Jeez, come on. And from Ramsey, you see, I knew this was a good subject, and I want to get back to why you were here in a second. I wish they had National Payroll Week a few years ago. The best was a payroll. Oh, for God's sake, Ramsey, this isn't a dating service. Cheeky man. Oh, Melanie Hutchins, I love this from Melanie regarding your credit card. 45 quid, probably a cost of coffee.
Oh, yeah. She's a one, isn't she?
She's hilarious. That is hilarious. That is absolute. And Melanie also says, good advice, Pauline. It is good. Because I know, as I said, now, let's get back to...
Can I just interrupt on that? Honestly, I'm one of those people that my other half does it all. I'm literally like, ooh, I don't understand it. I literally just go like this. I was going like that.
I tell you the problem, Timmy, and this is a very serious thing. Creative people can do creative things. So some people, for example, this is all about fear, which is part of mental health. If you say to some people, you've got to give a speech, doesn't matter if it was a wedding, at a business thing, they are in pieces. If you said to the three of us, for example, you've got to give a speech, I'd go, what, hour and a half, what do you need? Wouldn't bother me. Say to me, you've got to do this schedule of finance, I'm screwed.
You know what?
My stomach knots up. I can't
it's
do
horses
it.
It's for courses, isn't it? I think that's what you were looking for.
It is horses for courses. It's horses for courses, but people, do you think it's right that people should say, look, I can't do everything. This is my skill set. I'll try and do the other stuff, but I know I'm not that good at it. I'd rather get an expert. But the stuff I'm good at, I'm fine with. You know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Just the same way, if you're feeling down, ask for help from someone that can help rather than try to deal with it yourself.
Oh, this is my thing, Lesley. And this is what James actually said yesterday.
On Monday. Yeah, James Dreyfus, the actor, on Monday.
He said when he's in his depression, he can't talk about it. And that's exactly me. Mine's a chemical. I was going to go on to say mine is actually a chemical imbalance. I could be in my happiest place and it hits me. But you will never, ever know I'm in a depression. Nobody will know. Only my other half and my family will know I'm in that depression. I cannot talk about it. And the worst thing that you could ever do to me is ring me up and say, are you all right? It would send me over the edge. So it's a really...
But do you feel that if people don't... But Timmy, if people don't do that, Do you feel that they don't care?
They won't know to care. That's how bad it is. I don't want them to know. I don't want them to ask me about it. This is all because it's all like this. You can't work it out, but it's something in me that if they talk about it, it's out there, and then I'm crippled, as it were, mentally.
I get that.
Bonkers thing. If I've gone in and had my hair transplant or my eyes done, or I've got anything like that, I want them to care. But that isn't worrying me. But I'm so worried about my depression. It's like, I can't even talk. I don't want to talk about it. So what I do is I don't tell people, so that when I go round, and incidentally, I have not missed one event or anything during my depressions, which I haven't had for 8 years, by the way, because I'm on my antidepressants. But in all that time, I haven't missed anything. And that's my way of trying to get on. So if you talk about it, I'll go, yes, and it's terrible. But if you don't talk about it, I've got to get on. That's my approach. I don't know how you deal with yours, Lesley.
Well, that's yes. First of all, Lesley, I want to know how you deal with it, and then I want to get on to on the pharmaceutical side of it. Melanie says, I find I can't talk about it because I can't find the words. Oh, Melanie, this is so true. This is at the crux of it, isn't it? I can't find the words to explain how it actually makes you feel. And then Dave Sleet says, this is why the capacity to reach out before the crisis, and Dave and I, Dave's created a thing called the Yellow Heart Team, which is brilliant, is crucial, relieving the pressure early. Could not agree with you more on that. Right, Lesley, you said
my dad said to me, you need to talk this through with someone. And I didn't know what I needed to talk through, if that makes sense. I didn't. It's like not knowing the words. And certainly, I haven't been in that bad place for a long time, again, thanks to the medication. But when I am in it, I become quite reclusive.
Yes.
I'll pick up the phone and say, yes, yeah, I'm fine. No, I'm not going out at the moment. But it'll be no more than that. And I won't. I suppose I feel I don't want to burden anybody else with it, because when somebody says to me, oh, I know how you feel, I actually want to kill them and say, you have no fucking idea how I feel. Because I don't know
find the words, Lesley. People can't find the word.
No,
one of the things I think we should all agree on, and it's something I get very hot under the collar about, is somebody says, "Oh, cheer up," and I always say, "Yeah, I know. There's nothing worse. You might as well just pour petrol on a fire and get surprised."
What have you got depressed about? To be depressed.
Well, this is two huge subjects,
and it's like it's nothing.
Yeah.
Let's look at both of those things, because it's huge. Number one, say when someone's depressed, going, "Hey, cheer up." When someone's got a broken leg, I'm using this as an example. Someone's got a broken leg. You don't say, "Hey, you know what? Run round the garden. You'll feel a lot better." They can't run around the garden. They've got a freaking broken leg.
I do say that to them. It's quite fun. Just say, "Run round." Oh,
yes, you do crawl around. You crawl around the garden. So that's number one. There's no point in doing that. And the other thing, and this is a huge area of discussion, prompted by the question, well, what have you got to be miserable about? What have you got to be fed up about? It's not, the confusing thing is it doesn't stem from a reason, not one that we readily understand, does it?
No, not at all. I mean, I think there are triggers, and I think it's a layering often of different things, which when they're all in the pile, we can't say it's one thing. And certainly there are triggers. I know one of the things that still brings me down 8.5, nearly 9 years on, is grief, grieving still for the loss of my mum. But then I think to myself, well, yeah, but that's okay, because that's kind of normal. You have a right to that.
That is a real thing.
Yeah.
You have a right. I wrote an article not that long ago for a newspaper, and I said I entitled it, "There's no statute of limitations on grief."
Yeah.
But that's a whole different side. But something for real, God forbid, your house burns down. You've had a bad car crash. You've lost a loved one. Those are, I'm going to use the word legitimate. It's not the right phrase, but you can say, well, I can understand that. It's when it's this, And I think a lot of people, especially now, have got low-level anxiety. Not the same as depression, but pretty damn close. This low-level anxiety. You go, what are you worried about? Don't know. Just got
Can I
this
just
low-level
say,
anxiety.
on that house burning down thing, my flat did burn down, but I had got to the end of my depression. I'd come out of my depression sort of a week before. So I was walking around my flat. It was just gone. I didn't care. I was like, well, I'm better now. The worst thing for me at the moment that could ever happen to me is to go back in that place. It's awful. And I was saying at the beginning about my cancer phobia, I would say to the doctors, listen, if I was here normally now, I could probably cope. I can't cope. I know I haven't got anything, but that's what I'm thinking. But it's a sense of you cannot cope with anything. Anything will knock you down when you're in that place, don't you think? It's just you are defenseless, you are raw, you're open to any badness you're open to. You haven't got your armor on because you are just out there.
Totally. Let's look at this. I knew this would be a good subject. Questions flying in. This is from Paul Claridge. Tim and Lesley, do you find it easier to talk through your issues with someone who has experienced depression, as they may have a better understanding, rather than someone who's well-meaning? Oh, that's a good one. But no personal experience of depression. That's a good one, Paul.
Yeah.
Lesley first.
Yeah, Lesley.
That's an interesting one. I have a couple of very close friends who do suffer, but in completely different ways from me. So sometimes I will listen to them, but I can't compare mine with theirs and tend not to talk about mine with them because it's so different, if that makes any sense.
Makes perfect sense.
I think, like Timmy, mine is a clinical imbalance, chemical imbalance. I really do think it is.
Is it serotonin with both of you that's the problem?
Apparently so.
Yeah.
Apparently so, yeah.
But the interesting thing is, and then I must let Timmy answer that question, but the interesting thing with the serotonin deficiency, with the right medication, it counterbalances it. It really works wonders.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean you're walking around. I want to be clear because people don't understand this.
That's another thing.
You're not walking around in a daze, and you're not walking around going, hey, everything's fantastic. You're just being whatever passes as the word normal. You can function. You can function. You don't have this thing dragging you back. And it's brilliant. It's life-changing. Life-changing.
It is. It's changed my life. Like I say, 8 years I've been clear of it. On the subject of speaking to people who have had it, who haven't had it, it all depends on the person. It's like a minefield for me. I don't speak to my sister or my mum during this time because they set off the bombs left, right, centre. You've got to be really careful. I had a friend who had it, and when I phone him, sits in a room without any distraction to talk to me because he knows he's got to navigate his way through this field that I'm asking him. You say one wrong thing and you're spiraled off. My dad's very good. He hasn't suffered, but he's a very good person I speak to. And my other half, because I've been with him 27 years, he's so on it. Sounds rude, but he's so on it. He understands how to negotiate my mind around these hurdles. His sister suffers it. Hers manifests in this is how mad it is, excuse the pun. She thinks she's going to go out and kill a young child, knife them.
Jesus.
Never would in her life. She will cry. She wouldn't even touch a fly. That's how crazy it is. She won't go out. She's scared. Mine is, I'm going to die.
Wow.
I will go for an MRI scan to check I've got a brain tumor or something like that. Come back, look, that's wrong. They can't spot it. This is what I'm saying about how torturous it is.
Wow.
Somebody who will look after a fly and let it fly out of the wind and not kill it or whatever, think they're going to go out and kill a child, or me questioning a scan that's there. This is how in-depth and complicated depression is. That's
wow.
There you go.
Right, this is from Dave Sleet, head of ANA. Could you drop your camera down a little bit, Lally? That would be nice.
Oh,
Dave Sleet, withdrawing when in crisis is a natural protection mode. Engaging with a qualified therapeutic professional allows you to build a metaphorical ladder out of the hole. Absolutely. Rather than tell you what you should be doing or feeling. Don't know where Leslie's gone now. This is good. You know, they talk about the abyss.
Mm.
And of everything that's ever happened to me, I once, just out of nowhere, looked into that abyss. It was absolutely terrifying. And it only happened to me once. And I've never been so scared in my life out of everything that's happened to me. It's been quite an event. Where's Lesley gone? Disappeared off the
She told us to lower her camera. She's gone off.
I didn't say lower it to Australia, did I? Christ's sake. Right, and this is from Veronica Curran up in Edinburgh, trying to explain what we ourselves don't fully understand. Comes along not necessarily as the situation unfolds, but as many things are built up, and then it flattens you.
It is actually, Veronica. That's how I see it. I see it. You can feel the start of it, and it's like a saucepan with water in, and it's bubbling away, boiling away. The minute that boils over, you're in trouble. David has sat and watched me go into it. He said, "I've just seen you go into that depression," and it was so true. It just can happen like that, and it's just one too many things, and you boiled over. Exactly that.
Let me ask you this, right? We've had the wonderful Denise. I say wonderful because I think she is great. I'm not just saying it in some horrible showbizy crass way. Denise Welsh.
She's been on my show. Here she is.
Here she is, and she's been on and she's been on our show 3 times.
She's only done mine once.
3-1, we go through on aggregate. Now, in the semi-finals, we'll see you at Watford. She describes the fact that she was, in her book, The Unwelcome Visitor, what it is, it's an unwelcome visitor. You don't want it, and you think, oh, Christ, here it is. But she was saying she was sitting, I think, next to her sister or something, and driving, and it was a lovely day. Everything was great. She was in a terrific mood, and boom, out of nowhere, back it came.
Which sort of shows it's chemical, doesn't it?
I think so.
That really does show what if it can just go like that. And actually, mine is like that. My other bugbear, I did type in when James Dreyfus was on, is when people are on social media and saying, I've done it, I'm off antidepressants now. I really think that's a bad thing to put out there for me. Because it's as if we shouldn't be on them. But actually, would you stop putting insulin in you if you were a diabetic? It's just mad, and I don't like that press it's got of we're off them, and that I think it's not informed information. I don't think
one of the most important things with any medication is don't self-medicate. Don't start dicking around changing. It can have diabolical consequences. Please, if nothing else from this last hour and the chaotic start, for which I can only apologize, who knows, it's gremlins, is that go back to the doctors, go back to the professionals, say, I'm thinking about doing this. Let them please change the dose of whatever it is, whether it's your heart medication or whatever. Too many people think, oh yeah, I know what I'm doing. Boom. And it can have horrible results.
And if you are on it for life, be on it for life. I honestly do not want 1 minute of that place again.
No.
Absolutely, because also that 1 minute, I don't know about anybody else who suffers, but from the minute you wake up, this is what I would do. I would go to sleep, David beside me, and I would say, I don't want to go to sleep, because the minute I go to sleep, I'll wake up again. And when I wake up, it's all going to start again. And I would actually pray that I wouldn't wake up, because it was so bad. Every single minute would become an hour. Every hour would become a week. Every week, it would so... Get through a day is the hardest thing when you're in a depression. I don't know about you, Lesley.
I'm back. I'm sorry I went away. When Russ said move your camera, everything fell apart because I'm on my stupid bloody...
All I said was lower it a little bit so we could see more of it.
Darling, that's what I tried to do. Trouble is, I'm on the tablet, and the tablet...
We're all on the tablet, darling.
I'm on all sorts of tablets, and I can't work it out.
All right, that's fine. Leave it as it is, sweetheart. We've got a nice view of your ceiling, a little bit of your shoulder action going on. It's fine.
I'll work on my English.
It's fine. It's great. We're talking to your shoulder. I don't really mind.
Don't
Right,
worry about
Lesley,
my kids.
I got Timmy. You're a very outgoing, and don't do your gags. You're a very outgoing, kind of explosive person. You love to be the center of attention. You know, if it's a party or of a drinks thing, you're doing routine. But have you ever done that when you've been depressed and
Yes.
and you rip?
I've
I
performed.
suspected so.
I've performed.
But what effect does that, when everybody goes away and you're going home with David, your special Uber driver, as I always call it, what effect does that performing nonsense, and I've been there, so have on you?
Do you know what? No effect afterwards because I'm in it all throughout. There's no change. It's the worst thing. I had to do a performance. I did a performance of Joseph completely in a depression. David was driving there with me. He said, "Do I have to learn this? Are you going to be able to go on?" I mean, I'm rocking in the car like this, but you do it. I don't know what that is, but you do it. It's just you're drained of any fun, happiness, joy. You're just doing
Was that a professional performance? Because that's a different thing. I'm not talking about doctor theatre. You can be standing in the wings feeling like death warmed up.
Yeah.
You go on stage, everything's fabulous, and you're not putting it on. You feel great. You go back into the wings, you feel terrible again.
Well,
Been there 1,000 times, but that's all right.
At parties and things, yeah, I've done it. And actually, people do think I'm a little bit moody. I do know that. They think, is he all right? He seems a bit moody. But that's because I'm trying to control and do a gag just to try and put people off. That's what I'm saying about not wanting people to know. I'll try and do a gag and do something funny and it's hurting in the biggest.
See, I won't do that. I won't see, Timmy. I won't do that. That's why I asked the question. I won't do that anymore. Many years ago. Many years ago.
I thought you meant me when you see me.
No. Many years ago, I had all sorts of personal issues, and I put on the show, and then I thought this is, I can't be two people. This is terrible. It was absolutely revolting. I didn't like being like that at all. So I stopped decades ago, and my life's been much better ever since.
Lesley, you shut yourself away, you say, don't you, when you're in yours?
When I'm in my bad place, but if I had a work booking, and work bookings were a lot of keynote speeches, presentations, and training groups of people, it's like going into the spotlight. And as soon as you're in that spotlight, boom, go into automatic mode and no one would know. No one would have any idea. And in a way, that was my safe space. The professional Lesley, is probably the Lesley I like best, which is why I found it so difficult to retire from work. I'm still doing, I shouldn't. Oh my God, I look young, darling, because of the surgery, but I should have retired years ago.
So this surgery stuff.
I mean, Russ knew me before the eyes were done. What can I say?
Have you had your eyes done as well?
Yes.
My eyes done.
It was my 70th, can you believe it?
What
Birthday.
am I missing here? That was your 70th birthday present to yourself, getting your eyes done.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now everybody around the country and all over the world going, what does she have done? Come on, we've got to ask now. Come on.
Upper and lower lid blepharoplasty, lifts.
Who do you go to?
I would recommend him, hand on heart, Alex Caridis.
Oh, I'm Mr. Joshy. I'm going back to the second one here.
So what have you had? God almighty, what have you had done?
Me?
Yes, you. What have you had done?
Transplant.
Well, I know you had your new hair, which looks great, by the way. Marvelous.
I had sausages down here that have been removed. Just bags here. Teeth done. I've got to go back and get that one done.
Yeah, we've been noticing that.
And I have Botox every now and then, but I don't.
Do you? I've had nothing. I've had absolutely, and don't do the thing. Yes, it shows. I've had nothing done. I'd be terrified to have any. Be terrified to have anything done. Yeah.
Russell, you know that you really don't need it. You know you're my silver fox.
Yeah.
Darling, when they did your eyes, They speak through the retinas.
When they did the eyes, didn't improve the sight. They just look better from.
No, I had cataracts done as well.
You want to get your money back, Carl.
It's fascinating. Did it make you feel all right? So you've had these procedures, which I didn't even know about. God, I thought I knew you.
Mine worked because I looked so tired, and I wasn't. They were honestly like sausages of bags here, and I looked tired all the time. And I'd look in the mirror, and I'd suddenly feel tired. And people say, "Oh, you look tired." Makes you feel
That's
tired.
helpful, isn't it? That's always helpful.
I think that should be taken out of the English language. You look tired. It's what do you do with that information?
I did tell a lot of friends beforehand, and I hadn't told a lot of other people. And a lot of other people saw me out of it. Gosh, you look so well. You look fabulous. And nobody knew what it was, which for me was brilliant. But I didn't like how I looked. I couldn't put on eye makeup. My eyes were so heavy. Yeah. Now, of course, I just look beyond fabulous.
But did it give you both a boost? And
yes.
The gag about Twix or Kit Kats.
I came home from the hospital, walked in the room to David, and he said, "Oh my God, it's like you've been airbrushed." That was the next day.
Wow. Well, that's cool. That was the next day.
Yeah.
Oh, I looked dreadful for about 3 weeks. I was bruised, completely bruised. But then I'm a bleeder. That's why.
A bleeding what is what I want to know.
Interesting. Wow. No, I'd be terrified to have anything done. I'd be really scared. You know, I'm like
to live my life as you do. Get down.
Well, many people are. Many people are. I wouldn't wish it on most people. What have we got here? You are stunningly gorgeous, Lesley. Says.
Yeah, but that's Paul Claridge. Come on, Paul. Yeah, I will pinch your bum again.
And then Glassy Amanda says, "All three of you look fabulous." Glassy, you're very sweet, but you know, well, she's in the therapeutic community. But what is true about depression or going through life? It's what's within. And if you got the whole body language and you can't go through life like that. It's hard. You have to put on, even for yourself, a little bit of a show. You know, shoulders back, look better. Give yourself a talking to if you need to. I'm not talking about the clinical depression. I'm talking about serotonin, but just generally in life. If you need to give yourself a bit of a pep talk, there's no crime in that. You know, no crime whatsoever.
Can I go back to the chemical bit? Though?
Yes, please.
I don't know if this happened when I was off air for about the 50th time. But we talked a little bit about medication, and yes. I was talking to friends yesterday, telling them about the program today. And I said, you know, I would thoroughly recommend antidepressants. And somebody where I was said to me, "Oh yes, but not for young people." And I said, "Why ever not?" "Well, you know, there are all these statistics. It causes suicide. It does this." I said, "Look, it's not." I also said it's not your first port of call. Your first port of call is to discuss with somebody and find out what's right for you. But sometimes the medication enables that next step to happen. Sometimes that medication enables you to just let go and speak about it a little bit, or protect you sufficiently to.
And Lesley, it's so right in thinking. Think back when we had mental hospitals.
Yeah.
Before we had medication. We don't have those hospitals anymore.
No.
There are not full hospitals called mental hospitals like they were in our youth.
Yeah.
They're not around. And that's because of medication. And David and I get so upset thinking back of those days when people would go in and out with their nerves, it was said, wasn't it? And yet all they needed was what we got, that pill. And they're just, well, do you know what I mean? It's because it's a chemical imbalance. So there's a difference. A psychiatrist will tell you to stay on them, but it's a psychoanalyst that believe that you don't need them and you work it through. And they're quite antidepressants, the psychoanalyst, because I've been to both. I'm like, listen, I'm an open book. I will go to a psychiatrist. I'll go to a psychoanalyst. Great, brilliant. I've got nothing to work through. I've had a charmed life, nothing. But in those two sessions, the psychiatrist says I have to be on them for life. The psychoanalyst says we'll get you off those. I'm like, and this is at the same clinic in the same period what I'm going through. I went to both. It's like, that's crazy, isn't it?
How do you feel? I'm going to start with Lesley, if you don't mind. How do you feel when people like Piers Morgan or whatever, and I'm not anti-Piers Morgan at all, by the way, but I disagree with him on this, when they say it's attention seeking. He really had a go. I tell you why I mentioned this. He had a huge go at Denise Welsh. Now, I know Denise. I've met her God knows how many times, and she is, like Timmy, an open book. You want to ask her something? Ask her something. What you see is what you get. She's not putting on some stupid showbiz act. She's the same person on and off screen. And she's very real. And she was incandescent with rage. She felt furious. How do you feel when I don't want to get on to Pierce. That's not. How do you feel that general thing? It's showing off.
I wish you hadn't mentioned Mr. Morgan. Timmy, he's the word that apparently I use as much as you do. For me, it's not attention seeking, because actually the last thing I want is bloody attention when I feel like that. Exactly. So it's the complete opposite of what he's saying. It's nothing to do with a chosen behavior. It's a behavior that happens. I haven't chosen to feel like that. I haven't chosen to broadcast it. In fact, quite the reverse. So I would say he's completely wrong. There you go. Timmy, I don't know what your feelings are.
Well, like I said, you would not know I was in a depression when I'm in my depression. So the likes of Denise, the likes of you, Lesley, the likes of me coming on now, when I'm not in my depression, you wouldn't get me on here if I was in my depression talking about.
And I wouldn't ask you, because I think it would be intrusive, and B, too delicate. I think you don't want to do that.
You wouldn't know. It would be because I've got my own little thing of boom. If I've got that, I would go. I'd make a lovely excuse, or I'd come on here and be as camper than I could ever be in my life again, just to cover it. But that's the point. It's wrong to say you're showing off, because actually you won't go forth with your depression when you've got it, but you will shut down. But it's good for these people to talk about it when you're not, because that's when they feel they can, because they feel stronger and can put it out there. And that will then go on to help these other people who are apparently showing off and attention seeking when they kill themselves. Right.
We're running up to the end, but would you agree? I don't want to mention any names, please, but would you think there are certain people who use it as a poor me situation when they're in the wrong and they say, "Oh, it's mental health issues"? We can't really mop that up in 2 minutes. It's a separate show.
There will be, but that's like having a charlatan being a sidekick and all that. There's going to be bad in everyone, in every situation, I think.
Yeah, Veronica says this is a really good point. It's about what that person needs. A friend has paranoid schizophrenic, constant medication allows her to live in the community. Brain study. It's a gene both her parents have. Absolutely right.
And the tragedy is with all of us, I suppose, is when you do feel better, you just think, well, I don't need the pills anymore because I'm actually fine. And I've done that several times in my lifetime, and then boom, hit it again.
It is the most
off my medication again.
And what it is, it goes back to what I was saying. Please don't self-medicate. If you're feeling better, the reason you're feeling better, one of the major contributing factors is you are taking pills to do it. The moment, of course, you're feeling better. Then the moment you stop, you're going, oh, I feel like shit. Why would that be? Well, if you, without consultation with the professionals, you think I'm feeling better, I'm going to stop my pills. Please don't.
You do get worse. When you were saying, Lesley, about people getting suicidal on them, they do say you have to watch at the very beginning. Your moods do go boom, 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 boom at the very beginning, really bad. And then you just have to get through that. But that's the only downside. And the other downside is they do take so damn long to start working when you are off them as well. You can be a good 2 months, 3 months before you are. Yeah.
And so I just want to kind of sum up. Don't expect miracles. There's no miracle pills. There's no miracle drugs. These things do take time to get in your system. And the other thing, you will find you may have to play around and adjust with the help of your professional to get the right balance, or change the medication. It's been a fascinating hour. I'm sorry about
you will always get through it. Honestly, there's people out there. There's so much help these days, not like the old days. There
There
is so
is.
much help, so do not abandon.
Timmy Alexis Carrington Ward, the extraordinary one, and the lovely Lesley de Meza, Queen of Stanmore. Thank you both so much. We'll be back on Friday. Until then, stay safe, everybody. Bye-bye.
And keep strong. Keep strong.